Okay, we are live, and welcome to whomever may be watching. Give us a minute to see if anyone else is coming. Let me go over here and check my Facebook page. I see something. I don't really know, I don't really know if anyone else is expected. I know Nicole said she was going to try to join us tonight. And I think Gio may be coming. I'm not sure about Vanita. I talked to her earlier and she was not really feeling well. So since you and I have the plan, Kim, to kind of just, barrel ahead, and since there's so much to talk about in this final piece of the book, why don't we go on and do that? So I will start by saying I'm Michelle Odom. I'm located in Brooklyn, New York. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. Tonight is the exciting conclusion to our discussions on the book of NightWomen by Marlon James. Where's my book? And it has certainly been quite a thrilling experience to go through this book that came highly recommended by one of our members, Leonie Smith. And if I don't think to say it anywhere else along the line, Leonie, thank you for recommending this book. I've enjoyed it immensely. You can learn more about the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle on our Facebook page, where we post invitations and all of our archives from all of the 12 books that we've read together, beginning in 2014, Kim, are kept on our YouTube page by that name. So Kim, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kim Brandon. I'm in New York, and here is my book. Looking forward to discussing it tonight. Welcome everybody on the internet.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's see. I'm trying to get my screens together. It's a little bit challenging with StreamYard. This having to add each person to the discussion. With Google Hangouts, people just came whenever they came and they were in, right? But with this, I have to add them, so it causes me to have to pay attention, and depending on how I have my screen set up, it's either easier to see people or not. So, anyway, it's free, so I like that. Thank you, StreamYard. So Kim, I put in the agenda for us to go to about 8 o'clock tonight. Does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So then let's go on, and I will read the summary. You can call her what they call her. I'm gonna call her Lilith. All hell has broken loose. It's Gehenna. In the thrilling and action-packed conclusion to the Book of NightWomen, the women finally have their day. Some live to talk about it, but most don't. A new generation bursts forth to carry on the story and the struggle. Let's get into it. Chapter 29 is the bloody and brutal story of the revolt, set off when Homer is caught in a lie and punished harshly. Montpelier goes down in flames. Homer has an opportunity to torture the mistress after suffering years of her abuse. Lilith tries to steer clear of the revolt, but ends up killing her sister Hippolyta in self-defense and protecting Jack. Miss Isabel's body is the site of revenge extracted by two Negro men. And I would say also the site of freedom for those men. Chapter 30 is the story of the immediate aftermath. We learned the death toll includes 94 whites and an unknown number of blacks. Over 30 Negroes are caught, including Lilith, and caged at Montpelier, where Massa Humphrey executes a special death by gibbeting. Lilith is freed by Massa Humphrey to care for Miss Isabel because of her role in protecting Jack. Robert and Mistress Wilson are buried as Massa Humphrey is trapped in his grief. Some of the jailed Negroes, including Pallas, are burned alive. About 500 Negroes are shipped out. Massa Humphrey is repulsed by Miss Isabel and attempts to rape Lilith as she longs for Robert. Chapter 31 ends the book with another perspective on circles. We learn that a grieving Humphrey returns to England, leaving the pregnant Miss Isabel behind. The pregnant Lilith moves in with Jack and lives her days as if she's free. We are given an accounting of the final moments of the NightWomen. Finally, we learn that Lovey Quinn was taught to read and write by her mother, Lilith, and that Lovey has narrated this story told to her by Homer, the blind nigger woman in the bush. So, all right. So, of course, we're not going to make it through whatever number of questions there may be. So, do you want to just choose one, Kim, and go from there?
Let's see. Do you have a favorite one?
No, and I think I could have probably written a lot more questions, but time ended up getting away from me. So, I kind of just was pulling this together. That's why I didn't get it posted until late today. So I don't know. Let's just start with number one.
I was thinking number 4 jumps out at me, but we can get to that next.
Okay, number 4 is cool.
Okay. Lilith makes tea for Robert, and he complains that it's bitter. Everything that's good for you is bitter, Lilith says, page 394. Why did Lilith poison Robert? Was she trying to protect him or kill him? Is there more to that?
No, that's it.
Okay. Boy, Lilith. I don't think she was trying to poison him at all. I think that she was trying to get him to sleep through the revolt. so that if anybody came, they would find him unconscious and think he was dead. And this way, I just think that she wanted him to wake up a day later.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that I think when he dropped the cup, he didn't get enough. I don't think there was enough in there to poison him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I agree. And that question probably comes out of um, when I first read the book, and I read it pretty quickly. I was left with the impression that Lilith had chopped off Robert's head. Don't ask me why. But
Okay.
but I guess because of the melee, there was so much going on, and I wasn't reading it closely, and so as I read it this second time, and I realized, no, she didn't kill Robert. In fact, we never even learned how Robert dies. He does die, but it wasn't from that poison.
Right. He's killed. He and his horse are killed together. So the slaves killed him.
Yeah, yeah. But she was, I think it's pretty clear she was trying to. Oh, good. Here comes Gio.
Hi, Theo.
Hey,
ladies.
Gio.
How you doing
How you
tonight?
doing? Good. How are you?
Okay. I'm okay. Finally got my computer whipped back into shape. So
Oh,
always
we're
so,
glad to see you.
I'm glad to
Go
make
ahead
it.
and introduce yourself, Gio.
Okay. Hey everybody. I am Georgette Moses and I'm joining you all from Columbia, South Carolina.
All right. Welcome. We we just started. We started with question 4,
Okay.
and both Kim and I agree Lilith was not trying to harm Robert with the poison, but was trying to protect him from being killed by the Negroes. Um, you know, do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought she was just trying to knock him out so he wouldn't go out when the confusion started and get
Yeah,
killed. But it didn't
yeah.
work, but okay, she tried.
She tried. She tried. Okay. So, as usual, Gio, I have too many questions. So, I'm thinking we can just kind of jump around. I'll try to keep track of what we've answered. And do you feel ready? Do you want me to choose one?
Oh, well, I like 3. I thought your question 3 was really
Okay.
was good.
Okay. Why don't you read it?
So, sure. By now we've fallen in love with Homer. We love her strength and her wisdom and her beauty. We love her heart and her determination and the way she loves us. We love that she knows how to be tough and tender and the way she clings to her African roots. We love her vision and her capacity to inspire us to acts of great courage. Let's take some time to analyze who Homer was as a leader using the adjacent image. Was Homer a good leader, in your opinion? Why or why not? How would you describe Homer's leadership style? And was Homer the right type of leader for the moment in which she found herself? And so the image you have here on our document is, if I can get it right, is a person on top of the load as the boss and 3 workers pulling. And then the leader is down in front of the other people, all pulling together, which I think was excellent, an excellent example of the difference.
Hmm.
And
Thank you.
And so, you know, I think she was good for her circumstances. She did the best she could. Uh, hmm. Even a great tactician, is that the correct terminology? Uh, would have had trouble trying to get a bunch of people to act right when they're really, why are they doing this? What's their main motivation is revenge, hate, self-preservation. All these are, that kind of negative. That's kind of negative energy to try to keep a group together and focus. And then plus you had all these people. You find out that are telling the plan. That's never a good thing. And so I think there was one part where when the last meeting of the women and she was being
Mhm.
asked, well, what is your plan, Homer? And she did, she was like keeping it close to her vest. And that was smart in one way because you have people who you can't trust, right? She's got the
Mhm.
sisters, and inside of the sisters are people who are spilling the beans or who are creating the atmosphere of someone, being a traitor within their group for uh, their own motivations.
Mhm.
And if you know your people and how they are, what moves them, and how you can control it. If you know how they think, which she did, she knew how they thought as well as, up to a point. And so
Mhm.
she knew what to say and how to motivate them, to do this thing or that other thing and keep herself in the lead. But once you get folks, who buck up and try and they break that communal belief in that one person, then when the doubt comes in, then you have a choice, I think. And she had a choice whether or not to stay in that authoritarian position that she found herself, or to like get down with the rest of them and well, yeah, you may be right, but what's the real goal? We try to get free and kill people on the way out. So but then it's like every man and woman for himself.
Yeah.
So it was a tough position that she was in, balancing the style of leadership with people who've been indoctrinated into the belief that they have to be told what to do. And if someone
Mhm.
does not tell them what to do, then they can't function past, I need to put this block over here on this shelf, and what do I do next?
Right.
They can't
Right.
think out of the box that way. So,
Right. Thank
so,
you.
so what do you guys think?
I think she was also a good leader. I mean, she had to manage the white people. She really had to manage the white, and I think
Mhm.
that was probably harder than managing the black people because she was forever getting slapped in the face. I mean, she was getting beat up all the time, and
Yeah.
she just
Mhm.
still was able to navigate that space.
Mhm.
Um, and then she was so super observant. I think she could feel. I know this is a little vulgar, but it just felt like she knew when Lilith had her first orgasm because all of a sudden she starts saying, "Now wait a minute,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
you you don't fall for that man.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have to rope you back in." Because
Yeah.
all of a sudden their whole dialogue changed that she kept saying to her, "You not a white woman," just because he's treating you like a white woman.
Right.
Yes.
So Homer didn't miss much, but then there came a point where it just seemed like she was emotionally coming apart and distracted right before uh, things broke out.
Right. Right.
But Homer's my favorite person.
Mhm.
And what
Yeah.
did she sleep? Because when she was in the cave with the NightWomen, she still had to get up and make breakfast.
You're right. You're
So
right.
I'm just impressed by all of the NightWomen.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not easy to sneak away as a slave and then get back in time that nobody misses you.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah.
this is the last thing. She managed the NightWomen because all they wanted to do was bicker and fight. You know, they hated Lilith. You know, this one didn't like that one. One looked like, you know, a little monkey. It was just, it was like her whole goal was to keep them focused.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably did that for 10 years, just 20 years even, just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Hmm.
Yeah.
I have a
Um,
question. I have a question. Who do you think this is on the cover?
Well, maybe it's Lovey.
mm,
Well,
Well, Lovey would be Robert's daughter.
yes.
mm,
She would be more mixed than this,
I
in my
think
opinion.
that Lilith, even though the eyes are not, a blazing green, we can't really, that doesn't come through. But I just have always thought that that was Lilith. But there are two different covers for this book. And both of
Oh,
them are that banner that I created, for this book.
uh-huh.
Um, and so there's another one where the
Much
person looks
younger.
young.
Right.
Yeah. And so that could be Lilith. And this book that we both have, Kim, maybe that's Homer, but she looks too young to me to be Homer.
Hmm.
She looks
mm,
maybe she's like a composite of all
Right.
of the night women.
mm. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if you're going to make such a big deal about all of them being Jack's children,
Right.
it's just there's a part of me, and then there's all these small references in terms of their green eyes and what they look like. So I was just saying to myself, well,
Right.
who's this?
Right. Some are lighter, some are darker, but I think Lilith is dark, dark with woolly hair, and green eyes, which is why, it was kind of shocking to see her when she was first born.
Mm,
Hmm.
But on the leadership question, I do think Homer was a good leader, and and the right leader for the times. Yeah. Um, and yeah, Kim, she had a lot to keep track of, and and it's not easy managing people under any circumstances.
right.
And certainly these were not, easy circumstances. But I think she was good about keeping the vision of freedom out there, um, inspiring people. Um, and that took no small amount of skill to get that communication network going throughout the county, over several plantations. So there's a lot. Um, there's a lot, that went into bringing those people to this day of revolt. My only concerns are not really so much about Homer, because I think Homer was, probably the only kind of leader you really could have in that era. And she was authoritarian. She was the boss. She was the HNIC, and made sure that everybody knew it. But as as the story ends with Lovey Quinn, the next generation, now with the burden of carrying on the story and carrying on the struggle, a struggle, that in some ways comes right up to our present day. Then I don't think Homer's leadership style is a style that could work today. And that we're in an era, the leader style, looking at that image, the leader style is more appropriate and advantageous, because one of the things that has always happened with our freedom struggle is that the key leaders have been killed off, and and almost like clockwork, it effectively shuts down whatever activity was going on. So, just for example, if you think of killing off Martin Luther King, and as the beginning of the end of the civil rights movement, and so I think when you have when you have that kind of top-down model going on, then as a movement, you're set up to be derailed by the killing of the top leader. But in a more diffused model, it would seem that there's more opportunity for the struggle to continue to, in a real way. So, so I don't want to belabor the Homer question. She did the best she could under horrific, horrific circumstances. And there's more for the rest of us to do, right?
Indeed.
So, all right, let me choose a question. Okay, let's look at number 5. As Gorgon arrives at a field to deliver weapons, someone screams, "House nigger! They worse than Whitey!" Gorgon replies, "House nigger worse? See the real Judas nigger there, catch him." Two new Johnny Jumper named Nestor and Pollux try to disappear in the bush. The field go after them. 7 men grab Nestor and chop off every limb. "Me is nigga just like you," Pollux say. Discuss how dynamics between house and field slaves have been translated to our century. Anybody?
Well, we see it all the time. But most notably with the desegregation of our neighborhoods. when we removed professional people out of the neighborhood, and then that connection to the people was severed. So now their children think that they're something else, or removed from the rest of the people they left in the old neighborhood, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
forget the history and the struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
are blinded by how they think the people they wish to emulate see them instead of how they really see them,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know. And the people who are left behind in the neighborhood that they came from originally are looking at them like, you fool. Well, why don't
Mm-hmm.
you help me? And meanwhile, they're looking at them like, well, it's your own fault because I got out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still that basically a selfishness is how I've interpreted this.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps them from rebuilding that connection to figure out, well, why is it that you're still back in this neighborhood? And why is it that most of the people who are removed think that they're safe, but they're not? Because, you have to really open your eyes and see that. And so while the people who want to pretend that they're safe until they get stopped on the road at midnight, right, by the cop who doesn't care, that you got an Ivy League education,
Mm-hmm.
and they're reminded of their real place in America until they open their eyes. And then the people who are left in the neighborhood open their eyes about, look, we have to stop letting all our money leave the neighborhood
Right.
and build businesses back here, bring it back here, and make those connections and those networks to build right here where we are. You still have that. You will always have that because don't make excuses, do the work. Face the truth, okay? Are you going to make excuses for why you're here and why somebody else is there? Are you going to look at each other and say, how can we make this better for everybody? And it starts at home, with information, the truth. Face the truth. Face the history. So that's how I see, this situation, it keeps rearing its ugly head because nobody wants to see the truth. They don't want to hear what the truth is, and then make that sacrifice to change it. Because it's worked very well for the people who enjoy the results of it. Okay, and that is not us. Whether we're down there in the bottom, as they say, or up there in our little neighborhood, our gated neighborhood. Those aren't those aren't the people
Mm-hmm.
who are really benefiting from it. So you have to look beyond that
Mm-hmm.
level where they keep your vision focused at. So that's what I see. What do you guys think?
I agree, absolutely. As I was thinking about and went and found this quote on page 26. It's Lovey Quinn is speaking, and she says, "What can a nigger woman do but endure? What can we do but tell the story? Who is there when we recall great women's? My name right in blood, and me don't answer to it much." Um, and that's I think another way of saying what you just said, Georgette. Our names are written in blood. You know, whatever advantages we have are directly related to the people who struggled and sacrificed um, and went through experiences like as are described in this book, so that we can have those opportunities. Um, And so they're calling our names, but that doesn't mean we want to answer to it. But we may not want to answer to it much, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But I agree 100% with what you were saying, Georgette. And I would just add one perspective, and that is when you have people who are so beat down that they are participating in their own demise. And how much do you want to take that on? How much of, because the goal for me is not to ever be a martyr. So, like, they have this wonderful bar around the corner here, and the line wraps around the block. But if there's a protest, you don't get that same people come out.
Mm.
But just because there's a bar and there may be rappers inside, there's this whole element of people that just flock there. And so it's like, how do we get unified, all different levels, ages, generations, to say that, we're all still in this? But I know what's not going to happen. I'm not going to be the only one in it. so,
Okay.
so, so, so give me the key to the gated community if this isn't something that we're not doing together. Because one, I'm getting older, and I just see that. I don't know. I do see a lot of activism and a lot of groups and a lot of people stepping up. I do see that. I just remember when we were trying to save this independent Black school, and it turned out that a lot of the parents weren't paying the tuition.
Ooh,
So
wow.
that's like the meat of the nut. How do you get in there and educate the outliners, the outside, the people who are just like trying to figure out how to get over a little bit, as opposed to saying, if you don't want to get over, we can all get over together if you pay your share, if you do what you're supposed to do. So, and that's on all different economic levels. You have that same energy with very rich and very poor people who aren't in for the community, that they just out for themselves.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I just always feel like, how do we make everyone invested in and have an ownership in our own communities, and that nobody's carrying all the weight? And a lot of times certain Black women become these martyrs and just
Yeah.
take on everything. And so I don't know if they're the house. I think they're a combination between the house and the field slaves. Because I'm kind of an odd combination of house and field slave myself.
Yeah, I don't think there is any single idea about which all people are ever going to agree.
Right.
You know, difference and diversity are just hardwired into us by nature. So it's not, that's not even a goal for me, getting everybody to agree. But in terms of the struggle, I really do think there's an issue around pacing ourselves. And, self-care is kind of a buzzword these days. But it's real, and it's a good buzzword, I think, and direction for us to be moving in, because we do have this history of martyrdom, that hasn't solved the problem, because it's a very complex, generational, and intractable problem. So for me, I think the strategy is really about figuring out how to not bite off more than we can chew. Like I remember getting into a written argument with a woman who I ended up defriending because of on Facebook years ago. And she presented herself as you know, as an activist, involved in every march, every whatever was going on at the time. She was there, and she saw her role on Facebook as trying to encourage other people to come out and support these events. So when she could never get me, when she couldn't force me to say I was going to come out and be at the event, it, you know, it became an argument. But from my perspective, you don't know me. You don't know my life story. You don't know my struggles. You don't know my capacities. You don't know my limit. You don't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's not on you to tell me how to spend my time, how to use my life. It's on me to decide how to use my life. I can't do everything. None of us can do everything. And so, you know, so how do we learn to give each other the freedom and the space? And this is like the nut of what was going on, I think, between Lilith and Homer. You know, Lilith had not necessarily a very clear, but she had a vision of what she did and did not want to do.
That's true.
Homer, as the authoritarian leader, had her vision for Lilith's life. They didn't agree. So in that kind of a disagreement, whose opinion it takes priority? So anyway, that's what, you know, that's, we can't do everything. And so I think it's a matter of figuring out what we can do, if anything, because I think this work is not for everybody. You know, Lilith, in the final analysis, was not down with the struggle. She just wasn't. Are we big enough as a people to accommodate that? To accommodate that we're not going to all move in the same direction and do the same things. And okay, so what? Are we going to kill everybody that has a different vision for their life? You know, so for me, with my chronic illnesses and poverty and all of the crap I've had going on, what I could do was sit in front of a computer and host book group discussions. So who's to judge whether or not that's good enough? Whether or not that's enough? As far as I'm concerned, I'm the only judge and jury that I'm worrying about. I could give a flying flip whether or not other people think it's enough, you know? So, you know, so that's the thing. Like if you think of the civil rights days, and you know, you had different people who could cook the meals, and you know, different people who could drive the cars, and there are all of these. We need everything. We need everything because our issues are so complex. And
Are you responding to something I said?
oh yeah.
What specifically are you responding to? Because I don't relate what you're saying to what I said.
I'm responding to the idea of the frustration around how do we get everybody moving in the same direction.
My thought is, even if you don't have people moving in a direction, and this is the main point that I was trying to make. So it's different than what you're saying. My main point is I don't mind you not moving in the same direction, but do not expect me to carry you. Don't take from my resources. Please, whatever you do, I'm down for the cause, but you can't come
Yeah.
over here and then try to use what we're trying to build without supporting what we're trying to build in any way, shape that you can. So to find the independent school closing because I'm out here raising money for your child when I don't even have a horse in the race. And it turns out that you're not paying tuition, you're not paying any part of the tuition because you know that no child will be put out of the school. That means that you are not taking responsibility. And I bet somebody has on new something or others where that money could have been funneled in. So, no, I am not saying that everybody has to do the same thing. I'm just saying that if you benefit from the work, give something to whatever level you can towards that work. And this way, everybody gets a day off.
Hmm.
But in
Right.
no way,
Yeah.
shape, or form am I going to work for your child and you're not working for your child.
Yeah.
That's the
Mhm.
issue that I sometimes see that you like Georgette was saying earlier that there's this issue with people who feel like, please tell me exactly what you want me to do. I'm not going to move this block from this point to this point unless you tell me where to put the block. And so I think that there's this level of how do you communicate? How do you say to people? How do you inspire people to say it's time to move the block?
Hmm.
It's time to move the block. Do you need help moving the block? No judgments. We just want to help you move the block, and then you teach somebody else how to move the block, and then they teach somebody else how to move the
Yeah.
block. Because
Mhm.
we can do it, but I just think that there's some disconnect. So no, I agree with you. I'm not saying that if you're saying that the best you can do is X, we'll take it. We should take it because I think people could look at my life and say that I should be contributing more in different ways. And I'm slowing down. So no, I don't feel like everybody has to give to my standard. I'm just saying if I am dragging myself in, please don't take the little bit that I was able to secure when you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that's fair. Mhm.
Hmm.
And that's fair. Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
bring a welfare mentality to the revolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Only bring what you have.
But just do what you can do. Do what you can do. Say, oh, I'm gonna figure out how to break in there. I'm gonna figure out how to do this and do that. And so no, I'm coming off like I'm judgy,
Well,
but I'm not trying to be judgy. I'm not. I'm honest to God, I'm not.
No, no, you're not. We
well,
understand. It's from an experience, a recent experience you've had that
yeah.
revealed to you the mentality of some people who you're like they want to complain about what they don't have, but yet you find out, well, what are you doing to help yourself? Because I will help you if I see you're trying to do something. What effort are you putting forward? And well, let me give you a boost on your way. But if you're just gonna sit there and like, hey, pull the cart for me, I'm not down for
Uh-uh.
that. Okay.
I
So
no.
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
real. What you said was
But
very real.
but
Mm-mm.
I think that a
Well,
part of
yeah.
being oppressed is that you're oppressed spiritually too.
Mhm.
And so I remember when I don't know why this comes to mind, but I remember when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And I went to church and we were all in church and they were singing and dancing. Everybody got on new clothes. Everything's going real well. But ain't nobody talking about Trayvon. I was just like, but here's a power. But I do know that there's a difference where in church you have to leave the politics out. But I just felt
Mm.
like move the block, grab the block, and let's all talk about how we can take something outside this building and make it a movement, even if it's just having a conversation with little black boys to say, watch out for this or watch out for that, or we respect you, and we know that this is now even more dangerous country for you.
Mm.
And this is a very dangerous place for our boys or our
Yeah.
girls. But to just not take advantage and move the block is just it's just like, how do we do that? How do we lovingly do that? I think that's the key, is how do you do it in a loving manner to say, how do we all take one baby step, like Michelle was saying? How do we all take one loving baby step towards unity for all of us and towards economic development for all of us?
Well,
Yeah.
I think they had a lot more unity in this era where Homer was asking those questions. And um, and still, Marlon James writes a story that, well, it begs evaluation. It begs us to evaluate. But Kim, in terms of what you were saying about don't bring certain attitudes to the struggle, I want to read question 6, evaluation. What are your thoughts on how well the plan was executed? What did the Negroes do well? What could have been done better? Consider these scenes. A nigger man who didn't like a nigger woman because she wouldn't fuck him and call him stink, shout out, say she is turncoat nigger, and they jump her and stomp her and beat her to death before she could scream out that he not telling true.
Hmm.
Another scene, plenty men's, when they see woman giving command, don't like that at all. They do as they please and break into the stable and try to grab horse. Outside, other men push the women's away and try to get the Negroes to go where they say. Another scene, Alice sees Miss Isabel's door open. She go in to see a light-skinned nigger fucking Miss Isabel hard while the chocolate-skinned nigger hold her up and cussing that he taking till judgment day for come. Miss Isabel don't look like she living. Palace fires a shot and says, stinking nasty nigger, we fighting for freedom and all you want to free is you breeches. And another thing, a redcoat said, it's only cause so many slaves run away and not so much was around to stand and fight, why they didn't overrun the whites and take over the country.
Mhm.
So let's evaluate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There you
Let's
go.
judge. Let's
Wow.
be judged.
Hmm.
We'll start with the first one.
Okay.
Wow. I just, that hurt my heart. That hurt my heart. That he's
Yeah.
so bitter that here's your first kiss of freedom, your first kiss of anything, and you're so vengeful. Not oh, it just hurts my heart, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as opposed to them giving her a quick say, like, what does she do? They just kill her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
And it was a totally believable scene to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at this point, people are just unhinged. That is toward the beginning of the revolt.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just think they would have other things to be worrying about than something like that. But once you got that label turncoat, you know, but yeah, they didn't let her speak. So that was crazy. So, it just makes me want to ask, where is the love? What, if we don't really love each other, then, how is it even possible that we would ever find the right strategy, the you know, how's it possible? You know, so yeah, but there's a lot broken. There's a lot broken in us, and James just really does a phenomenal job of you know um, taking us to the source and putting it all on the surface. It's pretty amazing.
This just reminds me of I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It just seems like this is mental illness. It just seems like, and we've talked about this, that people get to their breaking point,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe hating this woman was the thing that he got up every morning to think about and went to sleep thinking about, as opposed to thinking about slavery and the injustices that he was experiencing. And so when freedom came time. So
Yeah, you talking like a Jamaican.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Oh, I can't even speak. Oh my God.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny. So when it was time for freedom, I could see that his mental illness just kind of blocked the path.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that just sounds like, let's stop and kill one of our own, as opposed to taking that little bit of energy and moving further along with the revolt.
Well, that
Well,
was very kind of you to blame it on mental illness. I thought he was just an evil asshole. Okay. You got all
and they
this
often look
brute
the
force.
same, Georgette.
Yeah, this brute force, and you're going to direct it towards some past problem you have with a woman, which you could probably have any woman on, the plantation, and you worried about this woman who didn't want you. Okay.
Because you stink.
Right,
Cause you think, okay, wash, and it'd have been better. You could have come back. I washed. Okay, maybe
Yeah,
she'd
right,
have said yeah.
right.
I went down to the water hole.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right, right. Oh man.
yeah.
But these are some powerful examples of just that. I want the selfishness. Okay. Now I have the freedom to do what I've always been dreaming of, or maybe I hadn't been dreaming of, but it got into, I have this idea in my head now. Oh, let's go do this. Come on, Roscoe. And here we are, Miss Isabel's room. Okay, okay. And he's complaining, you're taking too long. Will you hurry up? It's my turn. Just craziness. Okay, it does it not dawn on you that, somebody somewhere told something, they can see the fire and armies will be coming your way. Okay.
Right,
But you wasting
right.
time doing this. Okay, stick with the plan. And then
Stick with the plan.
and then the other thing is the sexism. Okay, I'm not taking orders from you, woman. Wait, hold up. Were you in the planning phase? What did you do to contribute to us getting to this point? Follow orders. Okay. So we can all be free and escape. And then
Right.
this so very telling. The last example you have where the red coat said if they just stuck together, we'd have been in the shit. We'd have been in the gimmicks. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
right,
And you can.
right. Because remember the demographics,
Yes.
33 to 1.
Yes. And there's a description of the workers in the field, right? And a woman's being beat. And they stop working. And
Yes,
it's 60 knives, 60 whatever
yes,
weapons,
yes,
okay? And the broad shoulders, and this is power. And if they had just turned those dudes, those overseers would have been like mush, okay? So
Yes.
that is
yeah,
the potential power if they work together and continue to move as one with one goal, that they could have done it. They really could have, at that.
Yeah.
But personal
Yeah.
issues got in the way.
Right.
Yes.
Right. They were derailed by pettiness.
Yeah.
That's the word. That's
Yeah.
the word.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. And that's the same
You
thing
know.
today. It's like same
Yes.
exact thing.
True. Just distraction. He's so easily distracted. Well, what's the goal? Okay, come on, bring it back around. What's the goal again? Okay. Okay.
What
We
did
can
they
Right.
say
all.
that people of color, black people, um, we spend $7 trillion a year?
Mhm.
Like,
Wow.
wait a minute. I was like, couldn't 1 trillion of it?
Right.
Couldn't we try
Right.
to funnel 1 trillion of it back our way to our schools, our whatever?
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And just the statistics on the number of times dollars turnover in our community compared to others, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
it does seem that we have fallen into this space of living up to the stereotypes um, about us, being easily distracted, you know, so you can, you know, shake your booty on a screen and all of a sudden I can't think about anything else but booties. You know? You can start, you know, hollering like a wild pig on a song, and all of a sudden I can't get the beat. I can't get the song.
Exactly. But wait, I'm going to tell you something that, I mean, if you look at it just on the surface, it looks like, yeah, we got a real problem, but it's not all our fault. And not just
No.
because of what we went through, but because of what the technologies that are used against us.
Yep.
Okay, the 60 hertz in the television, the
The
not
60
the
hertz of the television?
yes, what's
What's
his
that?
name? Bernance, I think that's his name, discovered that your television broadcast is at 60 hertz and it's low enough to entrain your thought processes. So anything that's broadcast on that TV at 60 hertz, and this is back in the 50s, they were doing it to you, everyone, makes you more susceptible to whatever they put on the screen. That's why the commercials come on and you're watching your show and oh, I need to go out and buy some of Mr. Clean because yeah, that tornado was really it's gonna make my life
And the
wonderful.
commercials are louder too.
Yes, yes. All these
Wow.
little psychological things that they discover. What communities do you think they tested out on first? Okay. And because we are the cash cows, we are the cash cows. They use all of it against us. Your music videos, your radio stations, broadcasting with not the harmonious hertz that would build us up and heal us, but the ones that keep us off, slightly off. So whatever else they want to put, wrap in that signal, that's what
Mhm,
happens.
Yeah.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
I mean, it's a lot.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go
I'm
ahead.
I'm just from the generation of side hustles that most of us had cash businesses like cab driving cabs, handymen, just you know the money would stay in the community like that and turn from hand to hand to hand.
Hmm.
And now if you can't really even work on somebody's house unless you have a license. And you can't drive a cab anymore unless you have a medallion or your Uber or Lyft, and you get such a little bit of that money. And so, any place where we had some sort of footing, it's being technology is pulling that away, and the banks now charge you if you're a business and you bring in too much cash.
What?
Yeah,
Too much cash. Now I
yeah,
know.
they don't want to handle cash because somebody has to count it.
Isn't that the teller's job? They have a machine. You count it. You
But the goal is that they want it to be as automated as possible and not pay that person's benefits. So you come in with your little sack of cash, and so they want you to pay for that. But that just also means that it's hard for us to do these startup things for the community when everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Hmm.
And so
You
by
know,
the time you get your little piece, it's so small.
And that other thing is that if you digitize, if you automate everything, they can control it. Now
Yeah.
they can track it. How can you pay, Pookie and Bubba and Jane, for whatever they do for you peer to peer
Yep.
if you have no cash money to give them?
That's right.
yeah,
No, we got to be smarter than that.
So this is where
Okay.
you need a Homer. You need that Homer spirit, even if she's a software developer at this point. But you gotta have that Homer spirit to kind of say. And then my brother always has this thing where he has a Jewish friend, and the friend says that for all the restaurants that these folks own together, that nobody can buy rice until they're all ready to buy rice, and that'll get them the biggest price, the biggest discount. So they would buy it in these huge grosses of rice, and that saved them so much money. But the whole thing is nobody, and this community, nobody buys rice until we all buy rice. And so that those
mhm.
are the type of strategies that we need to deploy, like to have a Homer kind of say, okay,
You're right. And,
what
and I
what
Well,
what
and Farah Tanis, the director of Black Women's Blueprint, one of the things that she was trying to do, certainly not the main thing, but was to encourage a barter economy. So she
really?
would, yeah, she would host events where people would just bring whatever goods. She was really doing it on the basis of exchanging goods, but you could
Uh-huh.
also do services, you know, and so I mean, it doesn't solve all the problems, but you know,
Do they still
it's
do it?
something.
I don't know. I
Okay,
hope so.
I'll ask because I'm downsizing, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with stuff.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I just want to follow up a little bit briefly on what you said, Kim, and the about those communities not moving until they're all ready to move.
Hmm.
It's a cultural thing too.
Yeah.
Because you see that same thing in the different Asian communities that come in. They have a whole street now with nothing but different they call it International Boulevard, but they have Jamaican, they have Asian, Vietnamese, Korean. And how did they get off? They started with one store, okay, because they probably all lived in one house. And
Hmm.
then they pooled all their money to do it. But it was also a cultural thing because they still believe in that family, that family, in that extended family. Everybody is still family. And we're all working together. If I help this part of my family, that's still me succeeding. We don't have that. And then when we have those startups that try to do that, suddenly somebody comes along and says it's illegal, or they tell a lie,
Yes,
on them, and it's some kind of scandal.
that's
Okay,
right.
and really, and our most powerful traditionally unit has been the church, but they've been politicized. And even though you said earlier that you can't talk politics in the church, but what does the pastor do when it's election time? He brings in so and so who gives him some money to
Mm.
come to speak before his congregation, and now everyone's supposed to vote for that cat who's not doing anything for the community. He's doing something for that pastor and that pastor's family, but they don't see that
Yeah.
until later. So, you know, just the diffusing of our power bases, the things that we have traditionally had to keep us at a survivability, a level of survivability, just besides surpassing that, have been taken away, and the dumbing down of the children in our school system to where they do not even wish to succeed. How can you work with these different groups of generations coming up if you can't even motivate them to want to be something?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so wow, the tech is full, it's circular.
Wow, so much. And they're teaching to a test. They're not teaching students how to integrate information just to pass this test, and then you can forget it all. We're gonna memorize it until a test is over. And then the other thing I just wanted to add in terms of us wonderful African Americans, for the most part, is this city, New York City, where we live, they're helping with deed fraud. So a lot of African Americans are losing their homes that they've had for 40, 50 years.
Mm,
And they have this thing where if you don't have a mortgage and you pay your taxes, because now your taxes aren't coming in through a financial institution, they're coming in through a personal check.
mm,
Some of those checks were not applied to their tax bill, and then they sell the taxes as a lien
mhm,
to an LLC. And so by the time and nobody's sending you anything saying your house is about to be foreclosed for $5,000 or $3,000 or whatever um,
mm.
the amount is. And so the borough president here and all these people are looking into it, but somebody in the city had to target us.
Yes.
This was something that somebody set up and put people in certain roles in different parts of the city to kind of figure out how this would work. And so
Mhm.
the New York Times just did an article on Black people and housing fraud, and they talked about all these other types of deed fraud and mortgage fraud, but they never talked about this tax scandal.
Mm.
So maybe I shouldn't be talking about it on this tape thing, but uh,
Well, we need to know.
Well, we need to know. And the thing is, once they perfect a technique, you know, in one area,
Mm.
i.e., gentrification, then it's just a matter of replication.
so I'm just saying that as we're talking about what Lilith or what Homer would have to be looking at today, and how we can I still feel like I don't want to carry anybody. I don't mind being a student of the world and trying to learn as much as I can to share information. But at the same time, the level of strikes that are coming are just you never get a chance to stop. But at the same time, if everybody can kind of carry a little bit of the load and educate different people like you're doing this group, I think that's our only solution, is to just have all this succinct communication with each other.
Yeah. It's a bright light in the darkness.
And, I mean, it's stuff that's been going on for a long time. Um, and will be going on for a long time. I don't know how much time we have left, but um, you know, um, so I'm really curious about how to pass the baton, how to keep the story going,
Mm.
especially in this era when so many seem disinterested, and it's for all the reasons you're describing, Georgette. I think I've talked about it before, but Harriet Washington has a new book out, dealing with environmental toxicity and how primarily Black neighborhoods have been targeted for that kind of abuse, and how it has absolutely lowered the IQ in our population. So as I think about passing the baton, you know, we're passing the baton, you know, to who? Are the generations coming up behind us even going to have the capacity to grasp what is happening to us and to try to fashion solutions?
Yeah.
That's why you gotta find your Lilith. You gotta find that one that you can say, I think it's gonna be this person. And
Mhm.
hopefully your luck is better than Homer's. That the
Mhm.
Lilith and you are on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, because I think I don't know, Lilith just looks so
And
promising.
it may not be the Lilith. You know, our mutual friend Kim, that I was mentioning to you earlier. She was telling me yesterday that she raised three children to be revolutionaries, but they're not. You know,
What
I could say the
happened?
same thing.
What happened?
I, you know, I could say the same thing
I can
because,
say the same thing.
you know, ultimately our children have minds of their own. But so Homer wanted Lilith to be the one to carry on, but it wasn't Lilith. But Lilith gave birth to Lovey, and Lovey is here telling this story.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know, so but even you know, along the same lines, that same line, um, you know, as much as I wanted to pour into my son and, you know, kind of guide the person that he would become, you know, we learn pretty quickly as parents, you know, we don't really have a lot of control over that. But I think our influence is not always with, you know, the children that we bear and raise,
That's right.
but you know, our play children, you know, our play cousins, and all of that. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, so I think that's all we can do is do what we can do, and you know, and remember that that's all we have any control over is what we do as individuals. Other people have to make their decisions.
And
Yeah.
I love that when you say telling our stories together, because I think the fact that so many wonderful writers are afoot, and they're so if you have any inkling to figure out how to become a revolutionary, what to read, it is so easy for you to get up to speed. So
Right.
it's not like when we were coming up where you didn't even know who um, great writers were. Now you can meet them, you can talk to them. You know, you can get on their Facebook page. So that is encouraging. That
Yeah. Yes, it
if
is.
you
Absolutely.
want to educate yourself, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why, Michelle, you gotta write that book.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Mhm.
Let's look at it. Kim, I think it's your turn to choose a question.
Okay. Oh, did we talk enough about everything? So we were finished with 6.
Well, I mean, there's so much there.
Okay. So the thing with Miss Isabel and all of the what's going on with her and how these two men are just attacking her. So we did talk
Yeah,
about, wouldn't it be better to run for freedom?
Right.
You know,
Right. And I mean, and we see that kind of thing up to the present day, not the rape, but the idea that, and I don't want to pretend that I know what's inside a Black man's head, but from the outside, it often looks like you seem to think that the only way you can find freedom, is between the thighs of a white woman. And maybe that's where they are. Maybe that's what they need to do in order to regain their manhood, their personhood, their sense of agency in the world. But if that's the case, okay, but women certainly have to move on and take care of ourselves. But yeah, we see that.
I think this is just my. I'm just wondering sometimes if during slavery, what was going on psychologically with the Black man, that here you have the white woman being put on a pedestal, and here your women are being screwed by everybody, and now all of a sudden you can see it every single day because people are getting lighter and lighter and lighter, so that this is the culture, this is the new North American culture, or for Jamaica, this was the culture. So the Black man didn't have that sense of the head of household or any of the culture and traditions that he or generation before him left Africa with. So I just wonder what that does to your psyche, you down in the fields working your whole life to put food on this man's table, and he's taking your women, and his woman is supposed to be off limits. So the second you get free, you're just like, where your woman at? Now, goddamn it, where your woman at? Where is she? I don't know if it's some of that where you just kind of say, I need some justice. I maybe this is them exacting their justice, and so I don't understand it today. I'm not sure if it's changed, but if the culture is saying success looks like this white one, that's the internalized racism that I think is harder to treat and own. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I remember you saying a long time ago, Kim, and Black women didn't need to go down that road because we tasted that fruit. Yeah, their path to healing, to recovery, does seem to be different than ours. But that's another factor in the disunity that we have to cope with.
Yeah. Boy, but the obsession of white men to keep, cutting off the Black man's penis. It was just like whamming in his mouth, whamming this in his mouth. It's like, what the hell wrong with you? Why do you have to be so barbaric? What is wrong with you? That this is the bestiality of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Kim, choose another question and I will be right back.
All right, I'm choosing the next chapter, question 9. The redcoat busy themselves exacting confession.
Would you read?
Oh, okay. Yes. The redcoats busy themselves exacting confessions from the captured runaways. The whites could not believe black people could have planned this, and no man believed a woman could have planned this revolt. The redcoats scratching them head because they can't explain how so much nigger managed to plan something so big and still keep it quiet. By the time they chop off a slave woman's fourth toe, she tell how they plan to exterminate all Bakra and set up village states all over the county, like what be in Africa, like what Tacky was gonna start in 1760. They think she mad. Rumors start to spread that a woman who planned the whole thing, which make white man and nigger man, slave man and free man perplexed, cause some devious and nefarious thinking was beyond the capacities of the fairer sex, much less a bunch of goat-rutting savage women. Do you find it believable that a woman led the plans for the revolt? Do I find it believable? Yes! Do I find it hard for others to believe it at this time? Yes, I think that I could see them not believing it because, in order to oppress somebody, you have to keep thinking that they're not intelligent. And I think that's there's strength in that space. That's a nice space that if people think you're too stupid to do something, you can do a whole lot in that space of them not finding out. And they should have always known that there was something up with Homer because Homer was always in the mix of everything, you know. So yeah, I say I still feel that today that a lot of times people will underestimate my experience and how much I value learning different things. Like I know a whole lot about a whole lot of things, but not deeply go into anything or most things. I don't know. But I find that I'm talking to people and all of a sudden they look at me like, oh my God, you know a little something something about something something. And so even today, people just look at me like, one, you're a woman, and two, you're a black woman. So let me explain. And that's the other thing. People always want to explain stuff to me. It's like, oh, let me explain to you how walking works.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And every once in a while, I come at them hard and intellectually just blow them out of the water with both barrels because I sometimes just feel like, why do you have to assume that you need to educate me? That I just got here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with gentrification, when people come over and try to explain it to me when I've lived on a gentrifying block for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I never leave my house.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree, Kim, that, you know, there is an advantage though in that space, you know, where you're being underestimated. Okay. you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that gives me room to maneuver.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but happens all the time.
And
Happens
that's
all the time.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, just kind of sad for me that the black men, you know, in that era, Um, you know, I mean, James wrote most of the male characters in this book as really all but useless. And I guess I guess he has some inspiration for doing that. You know, there were a couple of like I think it was Poseidon, you know, that snatched the whip during the revolt from McCluskey or somebody. Jack Wilkins had a death-defying fight with Lilith's uncle years ago. There and those may be the only two examples that he provided. You know, the other men were just kind of really, if not downright useless, you know, then actually destructive to what the women were trying to accomplish. Um, so I don't know. It was just sad for me, you know, if that's your existence, then why you can't at least find some acknowledgement for what the women are doing, you know. You know, I don't know. But you know, even that scene where the revolt starts and the abbing, however you say it, blows, and all of the women in the field, you know, they stand at attention. They're ready to go. They know what the signal means, and they're ready to go. And you know, and the men are kind of still there chopping and looking around confused, like, you know, and it was like, didn't we plan this? You know, didn't you get the word that when the abbing blows, you know, it's going down, you know? So I don't know. So as he writes these scenes about, you know, the men's resentment of the women's leadership, you know, it was just kind of, you know, I'm just so tired of it. I'm just so tired of it.
It did feel true to life. I just think that if white men are saying that they are the top of the food chain, then it's somehow black men seeing this, they may feel that they at the top of the food chain when it comes to their women too. That you know, so but like you said, they had weeks and months to know that this was coming. You know, so be ready for it. But I guess following a woman to your death, they were just like, we could do this better. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they were under this whole culture of, you know, white men going crazy. And so I guess they wanted a piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're born into that culture.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Gio, maybe are you able to stay until 8 o'clock tonight, Gio?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, why don't you choose another question?
Okay. Hmm. Wow, you have so many good ones. Ah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with number 12.
Boy.
That's a good one. Ah. An accounting of the
Yeah.
night women. Did you have any particular reactions to the ways in which the individual night women came through the revolt? Consider Hippolyta, killed by Lilith in a gunfight at the cottage. Callisto, shot and killed in the head by a stray bullet. Gorgon, caught, caged, and gibbeted to death. Pallas, caught, jailed, and burned alive, dying slowly. Pallas ran away but took the wrong path and ended up in a fierce battle with the Maroons. Homer, not killed in hail of bullets, never caught, went blind and lived in the bush. Her death of sorts occurred when she learned her picnics were dead, and a lifetime of being the personal slave of Mistress Wilson boiled over. Homer killed Homer and reborn herself as the struggle.
Mm.
Iphigenia, turncoat Negro, dealt with accordingly before start of revolt. Angry that no one could help her when she was being burned and scarred by cold, Iphigenia tied her future to the kindness of whites. Lilith lived remaining days in relative freedom in Jack's house and gave birth to Lovey Quinn, the next generation. So, talk about going out like a boss. let's let's just for a minute talk about that escape scene of Palace. She's in the climb. She's up the wrong mountain. She can't see where she's going, and she's not quitting. I'm getting my freedom. She got her gun. One maroon's in front of her. She whips around. The one in the back. She shoots him. Then the dude in front just leaps on her, and they're struggling. It's a scene from a movie, a great movie. Okay, they're in the water. He's trying to drown her. She gets a rock, busts him in the head. Then she beats him again with some more. Oh, it's great. And her what's her downfall? Okay, after she kills the third maroon or knocks him out or something, she waves to some others, right, walking by, and it was 50-50. Because if you're one type of maroon, they let their women have guns. If you're the other type, they didn't let their women have guns. So damn the
But
bad luck, right?
she she was dressed in man's clothing. The last man that she killed, she had on his clothes. So I
Yeah.
think saying that even though she had on this man's clothes, she
Mhm.
still looked like a woman. And
Yeah.
so she's waving, probably with a rifle in her hand, and they
Mhm.
they knew, something is off here.
Yeah. But it was an an adventure of survival up until then.
Wow, that
Yes.
was
Wow. Man.
Well,
Oh.
I like the scene with Homer, standing in the window with her rifle.
Yeah, yeah. Like Cochise. Ah, Shaka Zulu. Ah.
I finally got her. I got her.
Yes,
um,
yes.
but as much as I understand, why Homer needed to deal with Mistress, um, it also is kind of like the two men who raped me.
mm-hmm.
Like, really, Homer, shouldn't you be getting, out to the next
Right.
station?
You're right. She should just killed and left. Okay,
That's
don't
right.
Yeah,
just like I'm gonna beat you to death. How long is this gonna take?
yeah. And I thought for sure she was dead, after
Mm.
Homer was dead after they shot her up the way they did.
They said half of her body was outside and half was inside.
Yeah, it was such a
Well,
graphic
half of her
description.
body was hanging over the balcony,
Yeah, over the balcony.
but
But
it did say that her body was riddled with bullets.
yeah, and blood was shooting out. I mean, that sounds like you're dead
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, yeah. So
She was
when we
up.
get down to the end and find out Homer is blind living in the bush, it's hard to, and still smelling like lemongrass. And so James really took some creative license here.
Didn't he?
That was a bit much.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was glad to see that she lived, you know.
Yeah, me too.
And
Yeah.
Gorgon, when she was in the gibbets, she was talking shit for a couple of days. I was so impressed with her. You know what
Yeah.
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 she bleeding out and
Yeah.
she's still running her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
She lasted the longest in those gibbets. That was a hell of a torture tool Master Humphrey came up with,
yeah.
you know.
So he's
Yeah.
sitting on his couch and he says, "You know what I need? Something with 1,000 nails in it.
Yeah.
So this way it will puncture every part of the body all at the same time. Oh, this is
Mm.
what I need. Because
Yeah.
I need to smell the decay. I need
Yeah.
a slow death. I need it's so evil. The bestiality is just so evil. It's frighteningly evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want to cook your body so that you feel yourself being burnt, but you don't die because they need you
Right.
to burn for a couple of days.
Right.
Yeah. That's some medieval stuff right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Was it was ugly, but you know, but
And then you don't want anybody to burn your toast. You know what I'm saying? Somebody burn your
right.
toast, you're going to murder them. But you have this it's just like any little affront you take, but at the same time the penalty for that is you going out of your mind with abusive torture.
Mm.
You just
Mm-hmm.
go out of your mind. And what remember the guy from earlier in the book, he did something to the mistress's flowers on the other plantation,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and then he had to have the
Mm-hmm.
honey put on him so that the bees would come, and then the mosquitoes, or then
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, and the ants. It was just like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Because the
Yeah.
flowers made you sneeze? Really?
Right.
Yeah.
He was a
Right.
nice guy. We could add him to the list.
Yeah. 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 He was a nice guy. Yeah. He's the one that had the crush on Lilith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about Lilith getting to live like she's a free woman?
She got some luck. That's one slave girl. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
I
definitely.
was just so disappointed when she carried Jack down the stairs and said
Oh.
this is her father and all of that stuff. And I was just like, huh? I was just like, huh? Why? What? What's going on here? And so I was like, oh, now she's gonna kill him. And then she didn't. I said, okay, now she's gonna kill him. And then she
Kim, you caught up in the bloodlust.
didn't. No. It's just that he was such a beast.
Yes. Yes, he was.
He had just murdered people. He was just so insane. And now all of a sudden you like, he's your daddy. Get the I was just like, okay, now she's gonna kill him. Good thing she didn't, because that was the only thing that saved her life.
Exactly. So yeah, that worked out. Her having, some humanity, undeserved though it was. Cause that dude, huh. Everybody was coming in his cottage to kill him. It's time to get Jack.
They were coming through the doors and the windows and everything.
Yeah, but ultimately, Lilith remained true to what she was saying all along about, I don't plan to kill anymore. Now, she did kill her sister, Hippolyta, but that really was self-defense. Hippolyta came into the Wilkins house aiming her gun at Lilith, and Lilith knew Negroes didn't like her, including her
Oh, I
sister.
thought she was aiming the gun at Jack Wilkins.
Well, if she may have been, but Lilith was in the path. I thought she was aiming it at Lilith,
Oh, okay.
But that's when she took her out. But other than that, Lilith didn't kill anybody else during the revolt. So that's what I mean by she pretty much held true to what she was saying throughout the book, which was that she did not plan to do any more killing. And so I thought it was interesting that in the final analysis, the women that you have left are Miss Isabel, Homer, and Lilith.
Mm.
And Miss Isabel and Lilith were not very likable as people. But like I was saying last week, in a sense, they both had an authenticity about their approach to life. They both, did what they felt was right. And I guess we need to bring it down, but there's a question on there about who is the mystery woman, and I think the mystery woman is Lilith's intuition, and that ultimately she was being guided, throughout the story by her own intuition. And so to me, it's a story of learning to be true to yourself.
Okay.
Well, I find it troubling that Lilith seemed to align herself with the life of a white woman. That, from wanting to be with Massa Humphreys and then, falling for Quinn and, rescuing Jack Wilkins. It just seemed like she was a turncoat. She was a traitor.
Okay, Kim, you gave us the people's eyebrow.
Well, she was a turncoat in the sense that she did not go along with the program they wanted her to go along with, but she didn't betray it either. She didn't do what Ifya did.
That's true.
And while she was laid up and with all of those white folks, she never whispered in anybody's ear, "Hey, Miss Isabel." I was at the night meeting. She did.
That's true.
She didn't. She just didn't do what the
That's
Black
right.
folks wanted her to do. She lived her
That's
own
right.
life,
That's true.
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. So
That's true. But even at the end, when Massa is trying to have his way with her, she's okay with that too. She's just like, okay, let's just kind of lay here because he reminded him of her of Robert. I don't know. I just feel like at some point could it been that she be starting to align herself with her prosecutors, is that right? Persecutors.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, well, she had that going on from childhood, from the pictures of the prince and the princess
Right, right.
Mm.
that her dad used to show her. So, I mean, she was just kind of programmed to take that path, you know. Um,
I
and,
wonder.
and, and nobody could, kind of break her out of that. And Lilith was a different generation than Homer, who still had memories of Africa. Lovey is a yet another generation and another set of genetically removed from Africa. Um, you know, and that's how it goes. So as the attorney hired the new overseer, and the circle continued and Montpelier continued, and they they bought new slaves. They made the decision to not buy slaves from Africa. you know they wanted pre-seasoned slaves. um so yeah, so Lilith was one of those generations, removed from our history.
Yeah. Mm.
I have a question. What color do you think Isabel's baby is?
Oh boy.
It's gonna be a black baby.
I think it's the baby for the man who was in that drug den with her.
Yeah, because that's who she spent the most time with, right? Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, that could be. That could be. But Humphrey hasn't touched her in weeks, months.
I
You
don't think
know,
Humphrey ever touched her. I
he
don't know.
did. He
Oh, he
did.
did at first. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Before her family was killed, they were doing it.
So
But
how do you think Humphreys found out about her escapades?
Oh
well,
well, Quinn told him.
the Quinn probably told him, but the Negroes, made a song. They made a song about all of the night women and to honor their memories and all of that. And they made a song about Miss Isabel being raped by the black men. A song whose lyrics made their way all the way back to the Great House. Remember? And Isabel was like, "You need to go to that jail and defend my honor." And Master
But did,
Humphrey said, "I would if you had some honor."
Yes.
which made me feel like it wasn't the song that he had caught wind of her
He
shenanigans
already knew.
already. That he said, and I guess at some point maybe Quinn did tell him, but remember he fired Quinn because he refused to listen to it.
Right.
So how did he eventually find out that the girl had some issues?
It's never specified. It's never
No.
specified. But after he fired Quinn, he might have done what you were saying, Kim, just sat up by the door one night
That's right.
and found out for himself. Because there were a couple of things that were not explicitly revealed. So for example, there's when Homer is caught in the lie about how Athena was killed,
Uh-huh.
and Robert drags Lilith back to the cottage, and he's trying to get her to admit that she's been in league with all of them. I think that's the point at which he's saying to Lilith, because I know you've been going out at night. I know you've been meeting with this woman. And I'm like, oh, that's the first we're hearing that Robert knew Lilith was going out at night.
Right.
And he's like, and it's happened several times. So we just thought, Lilith, Robert was laying up in the bed, sleeping, having had him a good time and was,
right.
out for the night. But Robert was up on what was going on to some degree. Yeah. So there are a few things where we don't really know, how they know what they know.
Yeah, Robert was no fool.
Yeah.
But he loved beating on Lilith. Every time he turned around, he's choking her, slapping her, doing something. And he talking about love you my foot.
Yeah, but I always felt like that was more the hierarchy of male female going on than the slave master thing.
I can see that.
I think that he genuinely started seeing her as his woman, but as his woman he had the right to beat on her when he saw fit.
Yes.
I wasn't living back then.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Let's I guess bring it to a close, because there's no end to the potential things we could talk about with this book. Just maybe let me see if there's a one ends. Oh, just the laughter part. Did y'all find this book as funny as I did?
No.
It had some funny.
Okay.
It had some funny moments, especially the sarcastic repartee between Lilith and Homer, or
Yeah.
Gorgon and the rest of the NightWomen, and they would just say some smart stuff. Like, what did she say?
Uh-huh.
There were some comedic moments, but you had to have some. Otherwise, this would have just really been a very depressing and violent story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess much like real life, even in the midst of tragedy, we can find some humor somewhere.
It's funny. I found it hard to read, but now I want to start all over and read it again. I just
Uh-huh.
want to start because now I'm like, oh, there's a lot that I missed. So I feel like, I want to start all over again now that I see the whole landscape. Because he was
Yeah.
Right.
throwing a lot at us, and so
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay.
And I got so much more out of it on my second read than I did the first, Kim. So I encourage you to do that. I don't know if I saw the humor as much as I did on the second read. But I think James just did, a fabulous job of weaving that in, and that, it helped to make these really difficult topics that he's dealing with. It 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 I mean, I think it just helps us to take it in. So I had to really, I'm always saying I'd rather read nonfiction than fiction, but I really appreciate the way he dealt with these real topics,
Yeah.
You could see all the research that he put
Yeah.
into it, because it
Yeah.
really felt like it was genuine to the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a hard time keeping all the night women together, and that was just like, I was like, which one is this? Which
Mm-hmm.
one is that? So now I want to now that I know who everybody is, I'm like, let me read this again, because there's some subtleties that I think I may like to kind of put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to really kind of see, did he describe what anybody looked like?
Oh, he did.
Mm-hmm.
I just got the impression that Lilith was lighter from his descriptions, that her hair was softer, but you said it was woolly, and I never got that.
Yeah, that may be the first chapter.
Oh, okay.
Whatever chapter she's born in, he gives the description. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I did that on the second read, Kim, and I have a lot of notes, like character, notes on the different characters and all kinds of notes, because that's the only way I could keep track of it. And because it was so much going on in this book, and which really is real life, and one of my questions is, I think it must have really been a huge relief for James to get this stuff out of his head and onto a piece of paper. Because, as a writer, I can just imagine how he was just bursting, just had to get it out. But the complexity that we see in this book, the stunning thing is it's still only a fraction of the complexity that we have in real life.
Yeah.
And why we have such a hard time getting a handle on what to do next, what to pay attention to. So yeah, but at least we've got people like him on our side. So that's good news. Yeah,
Yeah. I want to see this in a movie.
I don't know.
absolutely.
I don't know. The seeing us fighting this hard and all of that. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
those are movies where you have to kind of say, well, wait a minute, let's not give them ideas.
Don't give me idea. Okay. Okay.
Because
We're gonna
you have to
tone it down.
remember, since Rodney King, we've had years and years of watching our people being murdered by police. So it's like, you don't want them to revolt. They didn't see too many Facebook killings and stuff like that.
These people ain't doing nothing. If they ain't done anything by now, they ain't doing nothing. You can keep believing in them. I don't. I believe when I see it.
But all it takes is the right perfect storm. All it takes is a perfect storm. And this
Well,
movie could set off a perfect storm, and next thing you know, everybody's running out in the street. And you didn't even know there was a machete in the basement.
right. And that's when you will see all the wonderful new technology the police and the military have to deal with crowd suppression. Okay.
Just like
Okay.
that. Right.
Because they're thinking about these kind of things.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
uh-oh,
Right.
uh-oh.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the lines toward the end of the book, I think it's the paragraph about the circle, Negro walks in a circle, take that and make of it what you will. Is, the white man sleeps with one eye open, but the Negro can never sleep.
Yes.
But we can't sleep because we're working so hard trying to stay alive.
That's
not
right.
because working so hard, keeping our eyes on all of this. But
Right.
yeah, I agree, Georgette, they you know the they don't plan on having a whole lot of ruckus. you know.
Yeah, that's it. That is
Um,
it.
but I agree too, Kim, that there could be an explosion, but an explosion, that does what? Where we go running out in the streets without direction, without plan, without preparation, to do what?
All I'm saying is that there could be little groups of night women meeting up after reading this book.
Oh,
Okay then.
And
Well,
then there's gonna be something jump off, and then all of a sudden somebody's gonna call. They say, "Okay, when I text you this particular emoji, it's on."
all right, all right, all right. I can go for that. So, all right, everybody. We are supposed to meet next Tuesday. I was really hoping Nicole was going to be able to join us tonight because I wanted to figure out if she can join us next Tuesday, to do our planning for session 13. I think Leonie had indicated in the beginning of this session that next Tuesday was not going to be a good day for her. But I don't know what might be a good day for her. So I don't know. So, maybe even
Why
if
don't
it's
why
just
don't why don't we end? Why don't we end and then we can deal with the
okay. So,
administrative stuff.
so that brings us to the end of our 12-week discussion on the book of NightWomen by Marlon James. Thank you, Kim. And we're going to figure out what our next move is going to be in terms of reading. And whatever it is, we thank you for joining us during session 12 and look forward to seeing you in the future, reading our story together. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.